Hello, everybody. It is your Uncle Fish back again for School of Fish Art Stream. J-Man wants a Gatling gun on the end of his tail. Oh my goodness. J-Man says the tail's where you put all the heavy artillery. Yeah. He said he used to have a howitzer on the end of his tail. Good morning, everybody. It is your ever-loving Uncle Fish back again on this beautiful Tuesday morning for School of Fish Art Stream. Hold on a second. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to have to turn the comments back on because I forgot I can't see them over here. Turn it on. And come back over here. All right. I'm doing this one in a different this time. I'm doing it wide again, which might be a little more difficult for the folks over on TikTok. But I have had so many people come to me recently because TikTok just had their big sale that, put everything on like 60% off, and a whole bunch of people went and bought it, which I can do nothing but, push it, tell you it's a great program. I ain't getting paid nothing for it, but you absolutely should get Clip Studio, and it is hands down the best program for illustrating comics. If you want to work digitally, this is the way to do it. This is the easiest way to do it. And it was 60% off, which they run great sales all the time. 40% off is pretty regular, but the 60% off is a really good deal. So we've had several people jump in and say, hey, I got it. I want to learn how to use it. And so I'm going to do some stuff here. I'm going to talk about some of the basics about Clip Studio and some of the techniques that have worked out really well for me, and some things that hopefully are going to work out good for you and be a big help to you. What is up, Sarah? Good morning. Glad to have you here. What's up, Jose and Drew and Prince Philip and Lion Draw? Good deal, man. I'm glad you're here because you're one of the people that I absolutely wanted to talk to about this because, hey, you're getting in on Clip Studio. Now is the time to get in on it and learn how to use some of this stuff. And I have already made some assets available on my Patreon account for free to anybody. You don't have to be one of my patrons to get them. Like I uploaded this file that I'm going to show you right here. First I'm going to turn on Clip Studio so you can seize me. All right, hold on a second. Let me change that. Sorry. Hate to be rude and show my whole screen to everybody on TikTok there, but it's the only way I can get TikTok to work without blowing my bandwidth. Okay. I am going to go down here and I'm going to go to File. And I could go to New. We'll do that later, but we're going to set up a page in a minute and we're going to walk through how to set it up. But I'm going to open this page, and this page is available on my TikTok for free now that you can go download. Page 000, which is what I save it as. And I save it that way for a reason. There is a reason, and it opened it in the wrong window. There's a reason that I go ahead and save it as file 000 because when Kablam, and I do most of my printing through Kablam because that's who most of my clients work for. Barry's a friend of mine now at this point. He's hired me on several jobs. So like we work back and forth a lot together. I know him. I know what to expect. I like him. And by their standards, they want the pages numbered 001, 002, 003 in that order because you're not likely to go over 900 pages. And that way those files will always come up in order. And it can be 002 Mr. Fish, The Mighty Call, whatever else you want to title it so that you don't lose it. But so I go ahead and number my pages that way when I'm working on them for clients and put them in a folder for that book. And that way they're already ready for the clients that are going to Kablam to send them there, and they're good. If I name it that way in the beginning, I don't have to remember to rename it later, which is handy. So I name this page 000, and then I open it, and then I automatically, like if I'm working on page 15, I would go to File, Save As, and I would make sure that I put it in the right folder. Like if I was working on, the Mighty Caw, here's all my pages down here. And I would, like if I was working on page 15, I would change it to 015 and then save, and it would be in the folder with the Caw pages saved as page 15. I'm not going to do that right now because I've already got a page 15. I don't want to save over. But when you open this panel up, you'll see a couple of things. First off, it already has a panel border in it right here. It already has a frame outlined on it, and it's already set up within the safe zone and everything where I like to put my panels, and it's ready to be split and all that stuff. We're going to talk about that in a second. Another thing that you're going to notice, I'm going to turn that off. Another thing you'll notice is down here. What is up, Marquis? Good to see you, man. I'm glad you're, man. And well, thank you for joining, man. I really appreciate it. Marquis is one of my new patrons. It's good to have you on board, man. Hey, Katie, I didn't see you there. Let's see. Sarah says I have to hit the print shop this morning, but I'm sure I can wait till the show's over. I appreciate that. I really do. Always good to have Sarah in the house because Sarah's the best. But what I was saying, get back on the right page. I have this panel layout here, and as you can see, it splits the panel up for me. The teal lines split the panel up into even quarters, up and down. The purple lines split it into even thirds. So if I want to make panels that split the page in thirds up and down, I have an outline that will help me lay that out. If I want to split it into quarters, I can do that. If I want to do a strip of panels that's a quarter of the page up here and a quarter of the page down there, it helps me keep it nice and even. Seeing if I can watch today is doing an open studio week and the signal isn't good in the shop I'm in. Oh, man. Well, hopefully it works out for you, Katie, because we always love having you here. Let's see. Lion Draw says, can you show us how you ink your drawings? I will absolutely try and get into that before the end, but I really want to hit page layout because it's important. This page is available free for anybody that wants to download it. And if you get this page, it's already set up for Kablam standards. If you want to print through Kablam, that's who I like to use, but you don't have to use them, but absolutely that's who I use. And I've already got several pages set up for single page, double page, magazine size spread. And I was going to walk through how to set up for a manga sized page layout and how to save those so that you can open that template over and over again and always have it set to the right settings. But when I open my Kablam page and I have a template saved in my page files that is set for Kablam, and this is the cut line right here. This is the trim line. This little outside border that you see there. Let's zoom in a little bit. That's what's going to get cut off. If you're doing a bleed trim, if you want the artwork or black or color or whatever to go all the way to the edge of the page and get trimmed off, you need to go all the way to the outside of this page, knowing that this, eighth of an inch or so here is absolutely going to get cut off. This line in here, the green line, is your safe zone. Because this is cut by machines and they're put in stacks and it goes very, very quickly through the machines, the cut line should be right here. But the reason we take the artwork all the way to the edge is because the cut line could be out in here or it could be in here. The safe zone is to tell us everything that's important that we really want to make sure is in there. All of the lettering, all the important parts of faces and hands and things like that need to be inside of this border here. This line inside here, this inner line, that is the safe place where I put my panel borders. When I'm drawing, my panel borders go to here, and that way I know everything's safe. But if I want to have, somebody yelling and have it come out of the panel, say, I can come up over here and come out of the panel. And as long as like the words don't go past that green line, I know it's safe and it can't possibly get cut off. Now, it should get cut off here, but every once in a while it might get cut off here. Could even get cut off here. That's why this is the safe line. Won't go past that. And like if I want to have a hand poking out of the screen, I want to keep that fist within the safe zone here so it doesn't get cut off. But, if somebody's hitting Cyclops, let's say, and his lasers are shooting off the page, that's perfectly fine to have that go off if you want. But if it's important, you want it to stay within that green line. And I have this template saved. I'm going to see if I can export the template itself. But I absolutely have output this page, this 000 page, and you can download it for free on my Patreon. You don't have to be a subscriber. You can just go there because it's an easy place for me to put files. And I'm also going to upload the double page spread layout, and I'm going to upload the magazine page layout and all that stuff so that people can go there and get this if it's helpful to you. Good morning, PJ. Glad you're here. Good morning to Jeff and Arch. Evolution. Oh, cool. Welcome everybody. Glad y'all are here. Trying to watch two screens takes a lot out of me. But anyway, so that's the basic page layout. And then I have added in a layer with this panel layout. And this just helps me split up the page evenly because like maybe I want really narrow panels in the middle and really big panels on the outside. Or maybe I want a narrow strip of panels on the top and the bottom and a big one in the middle. I want those to be even. It really bugs me with my OCD. So, like I said, the blue lines split this, and you'll notice the top and bottom blue lines are like right around that safe zone. So they're split evenly down the page. So from the top of that panel to here is the same as from this line to this line, or from that line to that line. And from the edge of the panel into here is the same to this line, to this line, to this line. So what that helps me with is when you set up a frame like this for your panels, which for those that haven't ever done it before, I'm just going to go ahead and do that real quick. I'm going to click on that tool and I'm going to click up here on rectangular frame. And because of the way the page is laid out, it's automatically going to click to that border there. Now, it blocked out my panel border and you can't see it now because the frame has a white panel in the back of it for a background, so it blocks out everything behind it. You can click the little eyeball next to it to temporarily, I'm on the wrong layer, to turn off that white layer so I can see through it. But sometimes you're going to want that white layer to be back, especially if this panel covers over another panel. You want to block out whatever might be drawn behind it. The neat thing about these panel borders is when I'm on this layer drawing in here, let's zoom in a little bit. I can draw. Anything I draw that goes out of that gets masked off. Let's make a vector layer for a second here because I always ink in a vector layer. And boom, boom, boom. I drew all that. It goes off the page. But it's all still there. I can grab it and move it around and it masks it off there. Okay. And that is a wonderful tool to have. Now what we're going to do is now that we've drawn out our big panel, I'm going to use my guide. And let's say we're breaking this page up into 6 panels. Okay. And I'm looking at the script. I'm figuring it out. Now I'm going to come down here to divide frame border. There was a tool in here that was divide frame folder. I got rid of that tool because I don't like it. I don't want to use it. It just messes things up. Divide frame border just splits up the border, and this all still remains one big page behind it. So when I want to, I'm going to take this little tool and I'm going to click, I'm going to hold down shift, and that keeps my line straight. If I don't hold down shift, I can make this go wherever I want it to, but shift will keep it nice and straight. I go across that little line there, boom, it's all nice and straight. Now maybe I want these middle panels to be bigger. So I'm going to come across here, down there, boom. Now, another cool thing is if you click inside the panel, click inside of it, hold shift and come down, it will cut that panel in half. If I click outside of the panel out in the masked off purple area and I click and I drag, okay, I drag through that panel, it cuts it in half. I drag through the next one, it cuts it in half. Drag through the next one, and that will give you a nice, perfect laser straight line all the way down the middle of it. And you don't have to try and match up 3 separate lines, because I'm telling you, if you come in here and you're trying to match this up as close as you can, they're all going to be just a hair off. Oh, that drives me up the freaking wall. And I see that in printed books all the time, like just a hair off. No reason for it to be just a hair off, when you could have come outside the border and click and drag and hold the shift bar and have a nice laser straight line that matches up perfectly. That works so great. And you can do it like any way you want to do it. If you wanted to do it like that, you could. I don't want to do that because that's going to drive me nuts. But we're going to get rid of a couple of those, and we're just going to split these panels right down the middle because we want to be easy peasy, beautiful. There we go. All right. Now that I've got my panels laid out, I don't really need my panel layout anymore. So I'm going to turn the little eyeball off, and I'm going to turn that off. And then I'm going to come up in here on this page. Now, I like to have that layer set to blue. When you open my 000 page, that layer will already be set to blue, so that I can do my pencils in blue and I don't have to worry about changing my ink color. Sarah's saying that they're limited in their paper choices right now, and right now they are badly because of the paper shortages that they've been having. They used to have a wide variety of them, but they don't now. Oh, that dog is driving me nuts. All right, hold on. I gotta go get the baby from the store because she's being an idiot. Come on, dummy. It's not even raining right now. I don't know what you're scared of. You scared because the Amazon truck came by and it sounded like thunder? Yeah, I understand. You're not smart. I get it. Poor baby. All right. So now it's set to blue, and now you can come in here and you can draw whatever you want to draw. And it will get masked off. Now it will go into the next panel. And if you really want to make sure that this stuff stays cropped into that panel, that's where the divide frame folder tool comes in handy. But then it makes so many folders that you have to dig through to find your artwork. It's a pain. It's a whole lot easier to just come through and erase what sticks out of there. And it just, trust me, this is so much easier. And you can draw out whatever you want in there. You can do your lettering and everything, and it will crop your lettering out as long as it is below this and it's in this group. All of this stuff here is in a file for this panel border. So everything that's under here within that grouping is going to be in that and masked off by that. Now, what you can also do is, these are all objects, so I can click on my little object select tool there, and like say I want this panel, I want that to go out of the border. So I'm going to delete that. Now when I'm on this layer, inside that little folder, everything I draw in here is going to be masked off and it's not going to go through. But if I come down here to the bottom and I go underneath that folder, I'm just going to have to delete this one because it's just going to be confusing. All right. So this is our frame. These are our panels that we have selected. Everything that is inset is inside that folder. And then we're going to come down here underneath that. And now we're going to draw under here. I'm going to turn that panel on, which I was already drawing on before, as we can see. And now I could draw, whoops, I'm on the eraser. Now we could have our dude standing here looking all pensive, you know, hands in his pockets. And, you know, his legs go off the panel. And we can have the sidewalk coming through here. And then we got a building over here. Now, wait a minute. All this stuff is getting confusing and it's all going into the other panels. And that's going to be a problem if it says Pop's Produce over here on our other panel. Now, that is why there's a white panel in the back for that page color. See the difference between having it on and off? That white blocks out everything behind it. So if you want to draw stuff back here, like sometimes I will have one part, like an establishing shot at the beginning or the end of the page, and I'll have it be a full page spread. And I'll have that background go all the way to the edges of the page just to look cool. And it'll make a neat background behind the panels. That white frame background there at the bottom level of the set of panels there in that little folder, that's what blocks out everything behind it. So on top of that, I can color and ink and do whatever I want to do. It works great. Another point that was brought up by Lion Draw, I believe, was the resolution that I work at. And I set my pages up to the finished file size, which is a little unusual. Most of the time, I don't have it handy. Most of the time, traditional artists were used to working on like 11 by 17 pages or even larger, and then shrinking it down for the finished page so that the details look sharper and more crisp, which is great. It's an easy way to get more detail packed in real quick and easy. I don't really have to worry about that because I'm working digitally. So I work at the finished size. What's up, 20K artist? Good to see you. I work at the finished size, but I work at very high resolution. So that lets me zoom in very far. I work at 600 DPI, which is higher than the printer wants. And that's the only thing that I have to change when I output this to like send my files to Kablam. They want them at 300 DPI. So as I'm exporting the files as a TIFF to give to them, I drop the resolution to 300. But I have learned from experience, it is so much better to have the resolution and not need it than to need it and not have it. Because there's times that one panel will come out really awesome and the client wants to use it for advertising and stuff. And if you didn't do it at a high resolution, that can be kind of hard to blow up. It'll get blurry the more you blow it up. Or like you'll do a full page spread or a cover that comes out really awesome and they want to use it as a poster. If I did it this big at 300 DPI, when you blow it up to 11 by 17, that makes a blurry looking poster. When I do it at 600 DPI and I blow it up to 11 by 17, it makes 300 DPI poster, which is pretty nice. I've never had a problem blowing these images up from 600 DPI to reasonable levels. Like I even did it for my banner. Like this cover for Green Zone Life in the Blocks, this base image is what's on my banner that I take to cons, and it's 7 feet tall, and it looks great. I did that at 600 DPI. Now, if you really got in on it, it might be a little blurry in a couple of spots, but when you're walking by looking at the banner, looks fantastic. Yeah, exactly. It's always better to have a higher resolution. Everyone seems to use 600 DPI. It's always great for me to do design stuff with, but my art computer does not like it. That is a problem. That's something that you got to keep up with because, like, file size can be a problem. So, like, if you're just playing, if you're doing it for fun, if you're doing it for your own stuff and you don't have to worry about a client potentially coming back and wanting to blow that up for a poster, working at 300 DPI could be okay. It's a little blurrier when you zoom in, but that's also a good reminder that, hey, you're probably zoomed in further than anybody's going to see in the finished product. Um, but yeah, I work at 600 DPI because it's proven to be beneficial more times than not. And it lets me zoom in and make this panel big and get on it. The problem is you got to be careful because you can zoom in way too far and spend, an hour making a really awesome set of faces. I drew I drew 50 or 60 different Japanese men in the background of a taekwondo battle in a panel. There's like 50 or 60 dudes in the stands, all individual people, all people I took from like old videos of uh sumo wrestling and stuff. So they're all like real dudes that I drew into here, put lots of detail in it because I wanted them to all look unique. I didn't want just a bunch of generic faces. Um, so all these individual Japanese dudes in the background, 60 of them. I spent like, an hour or two working on this. Came out beautiful. The entire stands that those guys are in the background are the size of my thumbnail in the finished product. I didn't need to spend that much time on it. Nobody is going to be able to see all those little details I put in there, but I got lost in the zoom. You don't want to get lost in the zoom. Take it from your Uncle Fishy. Pay attention. Don't get lost in the zoom. Since I'm usually working with finished art, generally resize back down to 300 to save my own sanity. I gotta move my mic out of the way. But when I'm actually drawing, yeah, I see the benefit of 600. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I drop it down to lower resolutions for all kinds of things, like anything I'm using on the web or the internet. I'm not going over 150 DPI. The stuff that I'm going to share on my social media accounts, I'm not going over 150 DPI. But that's what I'm exporting it as. I'm still doing it at 600, even if it's a rough sketch, because you never know when that rough sketch is going to end up being something that you're going to use over and over and over and over again. Like, honestly, this image of Virgil that I did was a rough sketch that I just did for a TikTok video, just to show off my characters to see if anybody would be interested. It ended up becoming the cover of my book, and it ended up becoming a 7-foot banner. I don't have it handy, but if you have ordered anything from my TikTok shop, you have gotten a little thank you card that has a little lineup of all the characters in front of a height chart. I did that as a quick sketch just so it would help me keep the characters' heights in line so I could see how they are sized in proportion to each other. So I didn't have to try and figure that out over and over and over again. I could just look at that image. That image has been used for so many freaking things since then. And it was a quick sketch that I didn't think anything about. I'm glad I did it at high resolution originally. Okay. So that's some of the basics about the page. I wanted to show the page setup. So we're going to go to File, New, and these are all the different settings that you can have in here, and it can be really overwhelming. You've got settings for a single picture, you've got settings for like a webtoon, you've got, comic settings. Do I have my No, I don't have my Kablam one saved in there. And then we've got show all comic settings over here. And this will let you do multiple pages and stuff. And this is where I have my Kablam template saved. I have my Kablam magazine template saved. I have one set for the card backs for Fresh Monkey Fiction action figures because I do a lot of those. And so that's good for me to have. Anything that I'm going to do a lot of, like screen sized videos, I have a template set up so that I can animate stuff in Clip Studio that's set up to the frame that we use, on the TV. But all right, so we click on my saved Kablam template, and all of this stuff is set up in here. I hope I didn't change something. Oh, so anyway, man, did I change something? I may have. Let me look. Well, it's still on Kablam. Sometimes when I'm scrolling down through here, stuff will change on me, and whoa, it frustrates me. Um, all right. So this is how you would set up a page. You would set up the height, you'd set up the width, resolution. Like I said, I work at 600. Um, you can set it up in gray or monochrome if you want. I never have a need for that. And the one time I did it, it's really driven me nuts ever since. Um, you can set up numerous pages and stuff, but I I don't do it just because I got out of the habit of it, and it makes much larger files, and those files, slow stuff down. My university still teaches 72 PPI for web art, which is terrible because most people have way nicer monitors and 72 looks terrible. Yeah, really, it does. I Man, even 150 can look bad sometimes. I tried doing the digital version of my source book at lower DPI, and anything lower than 150 was way, but it's an awful lot of text, and so that did it weird for some reason. Oh, well, looks like my stream cut out on TikTok for a second there. Man, the storm's giving us lots of great problems over here. All right. What was I going to do? Okay. All right. Let's see. File, open. Um, I want to show another file that I'm fixing to put up, the double page spread. All right. Now you'll see this double page spread, it already has the frame border going all the way around. If you don't want to use that, all you got to do is click on that. And if you really don't want to use it, then you could just right click on it and go to the delete layer and it would get rid of it. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to delete it from the main file. Uh, doo, doo, doo. When we come down here, there's two layers of the panel layout sandwiched together so that you can see how to break up the panels if you want to. And then there is this handy dandy little guide layer in here. And those two little guidelines are showing you where the dead zone is in the middle of the page. You don't want anything important in that dead zone in the middle of the page because once it's stapled and folded, nobody's going to be able to read it in there. Now, occasionally, um, occasionally I will have somebody, like, I might have somebody's leg go across there if it's really big, and and we're not going to lose anything important, and and their one hand's over here and their other hand's over here, and their other foot's over here on this side and this foot's on this side, kicking super evil dude in the head. I might do that. Or you could certainly, have somebody's eye blasts going across the page, or you could even have his cape going across the page. But what you don't want is, you know, Captain Eyeblast's hand being in here because it's going to get chopped off and you're not going to see it. Now, also, because these are rulers, it's going to want to stick to that line. When you get too close, it's going to want to stick to it. So, like when I'm actually drawing, I will turn off that layer, but that reminds me where it is. But when you have the panel borders laid out in here, as long as you avoid this area right here with the really important stuff, you'll be fine. Now if you've got a building going across there, make sure there's plenty of building on either side. You don't want to do a building this size because then when it's done, it's going to look like a building that size when it gets folded. And you don't want that. You're going to lose some distance. And people don't want to tear up their comic books by getting it flat enough to read into that crack. So you don't want to do too much in that line. But you've got the whole rest of the area to get to play with. You don't have to use the frame or any of that stuff if you want. You don't have to use the panel layout if you don't want. If you don't like any of that stuff, then you can just click the top part, hold down shift, click that one, right click, and go to delete, and boom, you just got rid of everything. Set yourself up a new layer, and Bob's your uncle. You can draw away and do whatever you want on there. It's perfectly fine. But you still got it laid out to Kablam's setup for this to print. And not for nothing, the dimensions on this are a little bit different than the stand. It's not two Kablam pages put together, because like one single page is getting a little bit trimmed off on both sides. One side of that is digitally getting trimmed off as the pages go together and are getting folded. So this is actually a hair smaller than two pages put together. It's set up to Kablam standards, and you can always go to Kablam and let me grab it real quick because I know I've got it because I got everything. Here we go. Double page spread. Importez-vous. They give you their page layout template. And if you want to go to Kablam and download the template and just open it and then draw on top of it on another layer, you can do that. People do it all the time. Which he's actually got instructions because people screw it up all the time, and you can still see this through their stuff. I wouldn't advise doing it that way when I'm going to give you a free page that you can do that's set up already. But let's click on the right. That's one of the problems of having so many screens going. And so, it's set up with the trim line already. It's got the safe line. It's got this area in here that's going to keep you nice and well within the safe zone for panels and stuff. You've seen my books. If you like the looks of them, that's how I get there. And then it shows you, there's this center line area in the middle that you need to stay out of because you don't want text and stuff being in there and getting cut out. You really don't put text that close to the center fold. I just bought a manga and I can't read anything on the inside of the page because it's all crammed into the fold, and half of the balloons are where I can't see them. And so once a conversation gets to that part of the page, I just have to skip it and hope I can make sense out of what's happening from the rest of the page because I can't read any of those balloons. And the manga is doing really well and it's really popular, and I'm really happy for the guy. But I can't read half of the book because it's crammed into the corners. Don't put your, don't. That's why we have safe zones and stuff. It's to keep it out of that area. But anyway, yeah. So this panel will be there for you with all the nice little guides. You can turn them off. You can do as you will with them. I'm going to fix a couple of things on it and then resave it, so that works for you. And then same thing. Open says a fish. Where is it? Anyway, I've got a magazine sized template that is the same way. It's got everything set up on it for you. I just can't find it right now. It's I had too much going on in my brain at the moment. But anyway, so that's that. Now, Lion Draw was asking about inking. So let's see. Let's see. Do I have something that needs to be inked now? But I already did this, but okay, I can re-ink part of this as an example anyway. Um, so As you can see over here on this side, I've got all of my pencils in a folder, and I colored that folder blue so I can make sure easily recognize that those are pencils. So that's a little too dark for me to want to ink over, but I can lower that transparency down and make it a lot easier for me to ink over. And then I always ink on a vector layer, and I always make those vector layers black because it makes it a whole lot easier for me to come back and find that color than to scroll through here trying to see all the little names. All I got to do is just scroll down. Oh, there's the black one. I know that's my ink layer. And I'll do a raster layer for filling in chunks of black, but I always ink on a vector layer for a reason. Um, because the people who've been watching the show for a while know this, but I can come in and make these lines. So far, everything is the same as if I was inking on a raster layer, right? Doesn't look any different. I can come in here and do all this and yada yada yada. But now I can come back in and click any one of those lines and change them and alter them and move them around like so many freaking times that I have been drawing like, the outside of a skull or something. And I got a great curve, but it got it kind of, the curve's great. It just got out of control there at the end. Well, I can just adjust it and move it and make it match up. If I really want to fool with it, I could come in here and move each node, because in a vector layer, it is remembering every point mathematically that I took my pen, and it's remembering how hard I pressed at each point, and it's making a mathematical curve to follow that path, and I can infinitely maneuver that as much as I want to. I really don't want to fool with it too much. It's easier to redraw the line and try and get all those nodes to match up, but I can make so many changes to it. I can come down here to correct line width and have it set to thicken and process the whole line. And I can thicken that line up if I want my border to be thicker. Or I can go to narrow. Like if I think the inside of his goggles is standing out too much, I can lower that down. I can thin down the top lines of his goggles and leave the bottom lines heavier to show some weight underneath them, if that's what I want to do. And then I put a little bit more weight under that side of the goggles. You can also turn off process the whole line, and it will only process the parts that you're working on. Like if I wanted the top of his little hood to fade out to nothing because of the highlight there, I can just go hit that one part of it, which works really well when you're using the shape tools. And, like say, if I'm making a rivet, let's say, for instance, and go back to line width, if I want to put a shadow under it, I can tap on here on the bottom, and I can hit the top with the narrow, and now the top is just disappeared because of the highlight, and then there's a shadow under that rivet, and that was super easy to do. And because it's a vector, I can grab that object, and I gotta pull my keyboard out so I can see what I'm doing. Control C, Control V, boom. Control C, Control V, boom, boom. I can make a whole line of those rivets. Um, I can click and drag and select those, and now I can, whoops, now I can Control C. Well, did I? I think I clicked off of it. All right, Control C, Control V. Now I can copy and paste the whole freaking row at a time and make a whole set of rivets going down, whatever you want to do. It saves so much freaking time being able to correct things instead of just having to redraw them. Um, and there's so many great assets to this. Like for instance, let's say I really wanted to go nuts on the frill of his hood here. Okay, so I draw that, and say I'm having trouble drawing and getting my lines to stop right there where I want. Well, if it's easier, I can just make longer lines and have them come out if that's more convenient, and then go to the eraser tool. And I have my eraser tool set for a vector eraser. I have it set to this middle. There's three different pluses. One will only erase where I draw. So I could just erase a little segment of it out and that's it. One will erase this vector line all the way back until it crosses another line, which is the most valuable tool other than the paint bucket fill tool on here that I've seen. And another one will just erase that vector line altogether. I rarely want to do that, but the middle one I use all the freaking time. So anyway, I can come in here and just click anywhere on this line and it will delete all the way back until it crosses another line, which is so freaking useful. Like, let's say if he had long hair hanging down and, it was easier for me to draw it like this and let those lines cross, and I can come back with the eraser and just clean it up. Boom. That saves so much freaking time, dude. I can't even tell you. There are so many things that I build, like mechanical devices and stuff that I build using these shapes. And whoops, I didn't mean to rotate that. And like, okay, so I'll have that set for my outside shape of the machine. Then I'll copy and paste. I'll hold Shift and Alt after clicking that corner and make it smaller, and then say bring that up for the next section, and then I'll copy and paste and bring that in a little bit, bring it up a little bit, and then copy and paste and bring it up, shrink it this way a little bit, and then I'm going to come back with straight line, hold down the shift so it's nice and straight. And then this one, I'm not going to hold down the shift because I want it to come out at an angle and match up to that. And then I'm going to come in and just click, 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 and boom, I have that mechanical post sticking up. And, now I can come back with the scale and if I want to process the whole line, easy peasy. Thicken. If I want to take it to narrow and turn it off, I could just hit the center edge of that where like the highlights hitting them. So much easier than trying to get that drawn perfectly by hand on a raster layer. And if I mess up, I've got to, paint over it with transparent ink or erase it, blah, blah. So much freaking easier. And not for nothing, with the transparent ink, on the vector layer. Let's see, make sure I'm all right. Cool. If I want to draw over it like that, those are vector too. I can move that around wherever I want to. I can move this around wherever I want to. I'm telling you, it's so much freaking easier. What is up, Kyron? So good to have you. Do you use a CSP pen for inking? Bought one, made your own. I use a whole lot of tools and brushes and pens that I've made myself. The one that I use all the time, this rusty nib that I use for inking all the time, I absolutely bought. Oh God, I can't remember the name. They make all the like rusty nib and the craft tone and the stippling brushes and the grain shaders and stuff for Procreate and Photoshop and now Clip Studio. They're advertising on Facebook and stuff all the time. On TikTok, Brendan Boyd from Shape Comics talks about them all the freaking time. He uses them. It's the ones that make the like the craft tone sets of brushes where you can go in and do the CMYK and blend them in. It's that company. I just can't remember their name for the life of me. It's like Craft Tone or something. They make awesome brushes, and now they're making them specifically for Clip Studio. But Clip Studio has now set it up so that you can download Photoshop brushes and all of that stuff, and they'll work just fine. You might have to tweak some stuff here or there, but that's no big deal. I also do make a lot of my own brushes, and that's something I'd like to do a tutorial on later because it's a whole thing. But I make a whole lot of my own brushes that I use all the time. And I'm going to put some of these brushes up on my Patreon too. So you can just go to Patreon, Mr. Fish Comics, you'll find it. And there'll be posts that everybody can see on there. And there'll be not groups, not playlists, collections maybe that have like the School of Fish episodes in there collected and have um, the free comics that I've put on there for backers, digital comics that they can download. That's in a collection. And then I just made a collection that will be free Clip Studio assets that you can download. And I'm going to put a few of these brushes in there as well because I use them all the time. And if you watch me, you're going to see me using them and you're going to be like, hey, how can I get that tool? This one was the simplest one I made, and I use this in every freaking book. And I just call it the fish bar. Oh, I'm on transparent. That's why I can't see it. And boom, it's a white line with a thin black line on one side and a thick black line on the other side. And like if I do it this way, it's a handrail with a shadow on it. If I come in with a thinner line of it, oops, I'm not holding down shift, I was holding down caps lock. Boom, I've got, railing on there, and then I'll draw some little spots there where they welded it in together. Maybe there's a couple of dinks in the handrail. Boom, you've got a handrail. Boom, you've got pipe, you've got wiring, you've got molding in the corners of the room. Uh, I've made several tools with that on it. So let's see, like the circle bar. Oh, I forgot this isn't touchscreen. So I can come in with that and boom, I've got it around there. I can, oops, I didn't mean to do that. Okay, start over. Make sure I'm on the right line. Okay, and then I don't want to narrow it. I don't want to thicken it. I don't want to thicken whole line. So like, boom, you've got the edge of a pool. You've got the edge of a window or porthole on a ship. Um, it has been so handy. I've got a rectangular one. It's got to get out a certain distance so that it doesn't get weird geometry in the corners, but it works really well for like, the edges of TVs, picture frames and stuff. And sometimes I'll come in and just draw over those little edges there, but it works pretty well. I've made a whole lot of different tools like that. Some of them are very specific, and I like to make my own tools because then it looks like my artwork. And what's up, PM Comics? Glad you're here. I think it is Craftone. I think they're the ones that do it. Absolutely 20K artists. And they make great freaking brushes. I use like 3 of them all the time. They make so many awesome brushes. I only use a couple on my regular stuff. But like I have made oh no, that doesn't work. I don't want that. Like I've made a chain brush that's drawn, with my artwork. I have made, a rectangular line of rivets that, sometimes it can be hard to find that right spot. Well, they'll be good. And sometimes I got to fix the corners, but um, it works great. Here's a better one because it's got more space in between it. It's easier to hit that spot. Boom, you got rectangular plate of rivets on the thing. And because it's a vector image, I can go back and grab that and I'm going to click on free transform over here. Boom. Now I can put that panel in perspective going down the wall. Vectors are so freaking awesome. You want to be using these vector layers when you're inking. Just the ability to be able to change things after the fact. Oh my God, if you knew how many times I wish I could have picked up a beautiful ink line from a brush off of a page and just move it a quarter inch to put it where I wanted it to be. Oh my God. This is a dream come true. It saves me so much freaking time. And when I make my own brushes like this, it looks like my artwork because I'm using my artwork to make the brushes. Whereas if I use somebody else's brush that uses their artwork, it tends to stand out and not look like mine. But you can absolutely download some of these and use them as references to figure out how I did this one. And we'll walk through how to do brushes pretty soon because like it's great. Uh Dragon Hunt, you inspired to get my money up and buy more indie comics on here, sir. Man, Dragon Hunt's the real one. I'm telling you, man. Dragon Hunt is the guy you want in your corner. He flip, man. He just backs everybody's stuff. He's a huge supporter. I love him, man. If he asked for my firstborn, I'd say how high, man. Dragon Hunt's awesome. Sarah got my side hurting from laughing on that last comment. If you use my name, then all my stuff sounds racist. This is the white inking brush. This is only for the most uptight of comic books, Sarah says. Um, oh, something else that I did, another custom brush that I made that I love is in the cross hatching. I made several of my own cross hatching brushes. Let me open up a new page. Because there's already too much crap going on in there that's not needed. Oh, crap. It's opening multiple pages. I didn't check for that. Yep, that's exactly what I didn't want to do. Okay, file, new. No, we don't want to do that. We just want to make a single page. Okay. You better not be doing it again. I tell you what, I'm fixing to have to give a computer a piece of my mind, but actually, it's my own fault because I keep one of the things I do to make sure that I don't make mistakes like that. That's part of why I have a page 000 saved because I know everything in it is set the way I want it set. So I can open it and save as whatever I need it to be. So I always go there. It has been probably 6 months since I have gone to create new page from scratch. And apparently 6 months ago, all I was doing was making giant sets of comic books. Um, so instead, we're going to do what I always do, and we're going to go to open 000 because that's what I always do. And we're just going to delete all that other stuff that we don't need because we're not making a comic page. We're just doodling. But I've made a couple of different cross hatching brushes that are all made with my own personal scanned in cross hatching patterns. So it absolutely blends in with the rest of my work. This one only has a couple of mine on there. And like one of the neat things you can do when you make your own custom brush, let's undo a little bit, is like, okay, that one right there, it's nice and wide. I can change the thickness of my brush and take it down to 100. And that's what the cross hatching originally looked like. If for some reason, no, I don't want to do that. I want to do this. If for some reason I wanted to make it really thin, I could do that and it would be really compressed down. Or like I had it originally, keep clicking the wrong thing. Because I'm, oh, okay. Or you can stretch it out and get really cool effects with it. And sometimes I've even stretched it out like really far and get like almost like rain like textures out of it. Um, that has come in so cool for filling in backgrounds and stuff. And it's my art and it's using the kind of brushes that I normally use. So it doesn't stand out glaringly in the background as not being the same as. Another thing that I did was, let's go ahead and get rid of that. In the tools, like the drawing tools, I don't have them saved to here. I need to save them to here. I went ahead and made copies of the straight line, the curved line tool, the ellipse tool, the rectangle tool, all of those using brushes from the Jaggedy brush packs. So when I make it, it's got that nice jagged rough edge like the rest of the brushes that I'm using. If I make a straight line with it, it looks like the rest of the brushes I'm using on the page and not a laser sharp line. And that has made a huge difference. You can also add like textures and stuff, like paper textures to brushes so that they come out looking all kinds of cool ways. Like, oh, for instance, let's see. Let's get a paintbrush. Let's get a watercolor brush. We'll get a running color edge watercolor brush. And, if we just paint with it like that, it looks like that. And that's pretty cool. That's cool. That's kind of watercolory looking. But I'm going to, let's see. It's not going to work with my pen. I'm going to get my mouse on the right page. I'm going to right click on that. I'm going to duplicate subtool and textured. Okay, now I've got a copy of that brush. I'm going to go in here to the settings and then I'm going to come down to texture. Right now it has none. I'm going to click on that and I'm going to look down for one of the papers. Drawing paper, fine texture. You see there's a couple in here that I've made myself. All right, we'll use that drawing paper. Okay. And we're going to click the little eyeball on that drawing paper, which is going to make that tool show up over here in our menu board over there on the side. Now that shows up. We're going to turn the eyeball on texture density, invert texture. That's a good one. Scale ratio, and brightness and contrast. We're going to turn all of those on, the little eyeballs, so we can get to those over here in the tool without having to open the other menu. Now, we're going to up contrast, drop brightness a little bit, see what happens. We are going to up the texture density. And now it looks like we're drawing on paper. And those are quality paper textures that are going to repeat all the way out to the edge. And, and you can change it if you want. One thing that I use a lot, oddly enough, in my airbrushes, I'll use some of those textures as well. And like I'll use, okay, say I want to airbrush some shadow on here. So I've got my texture and I'm airbrushing my shadow. Now, if I wanted to airbrush a highlight on that, let's say we'll switch the paint to white. I'm going to go to invert texture. And now it's going to be painting on the other side of that. The texture is reversed. So it kind of looks like the white is catching the top of the grain of the paper or the canvas, and the dark has settled into the ridges of the canvas. And it's a really nice juxtaposition when you're doing like light inverted and the shadows, the regular way or vice versa. It works really well together, and that's a really simple little trick. And then I can go back, I can take off the inversion and come back in, and it will paint, the opposite side of that texture. And it's beautiful. Freaking love it. And now you got that little tip too. Anyway, we've been on here for an hour talking about some of the basics of Clip Studio, and I need to get off of here. I missed everything you've been talking about because Sarah was sliding into my DMs. Fish, can you start over from the beginning? No, but you know what you can do? You can go to my Patreon page and you can find this video and you can start it over from there, buddy. It's there and it's free for everybody. Now, not because this is the free version. Now, there is a Thursday morning show that's for patrons only. So if y'all been enjoying it on TikTok, you might go check out my Patreon account. And for $3, you can get in on it. Or for $5, you can get in on the Thursday show and watch me work on pages and stuff for upcoming issues of Caw and Green Zone and all the good stuff. And get free digital comics for $15, which is better than the deal you're going to get on Kickstarter. You can get all of my comics sent directly to you if you back the Patreon. So, hey, and if you don't back it, you can still go over there and get free assets like Clip Studio page that's set up to Kablam standards. And I'm fixing to upload the double page spread, the magazine spread, and I need to make a manga one, but I'm going to make that and get that up too. And I'm also going to start uploading some stuff about how to make Ashcan comics, because we've got a lot of young watchers and viewers and lots of young fans on TikTok that are wanting to make their own comics. And a few little tips on how to make an Ashcan comic could really up your game and make your books look so much more professional, so much quicker. And I'm all about helping out the next generation of artists. So go check out my Patreon and give it a support if you can. And if not, hey, give us a like, give us a follow. Go check out the TikTok shop if you're over there on TikTok. Yeah, man, PJ's right. Go for the 15, man. That's a good deal. And as you can see over my shoulder, like those are not even all of the 60-something books I've worked on in the last 5 years. I thought it was almost 6. It's only 5. 5 years ago, I was still running my Kickstarter for T-Man and Hyperstrike right now. That's nuts. But anyway, yeah, I've done all that behind me in 5 years. So you're going to get books. Trust me, that's not a problem. In this month, if you sign up right now in September, you're going to get in on a very short print run that I get to do of one of the favorite books that I've worked on, Novikov, and it's really cool. It is such an awesome story. It's in grayscale, which is my passion and I love. It is some of the most beautiful grayscale work I've done. I begged the creator to let me print up a limited number of copies of this for my Patreon backers because I am so freaking proud of this book. So if you sign up for the $5 level, you'll get a digital copy of it and you'll get to see it. If you sign up for the $15 level, you will get one of the few limited number. I only get to print them this one time, and that's it. I'm printing one for myself and one for each backer. That's all I'm making. So you'll get it signed, you'll get stickers and stuff. Now is a really good time to get in on it. Anybody can get a copy of Caw from me signed. Anybody can get a copy of Green Zone. Only that handful of people that back at the $15 level or higher on my Patreon in September are going to get this. After September, love you, glad to have you, but you're not going to get this book. So if you want to get Novikov, now is the time to back. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I will be seeing y'all later. Let me see here. I'm going to sign off of TikTok. So thank you guys for hanging out. Goodbye. And now I can get out of full screen mode over here so I can see my tools. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. I'm glad you got to show up, Kyron. I hope you get to go back and watch the rest of the show. Hope it's helpful. Anyway, love you guys. Peace out.
Hello, everybody. It is your Uncle Fish back again for School Fish Art Stream. J-Man wants a Gatling gun on the end of his tail. Oh my goodness. J-Man says the tail's where you put all the heavy artillery. Yeah.